All right, let's jump into today's deep dive. We're talking about Muslim women in hip hop.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've got this academic paper, Muslim Women in Hip Hop and Rap, kind of lays it all out.
Okay.
Gives us like the history, talks about some key artists, even gets into how Islam and hip hop like mesh.
Hmm.
It's going to be interesting. Get ready to maybe rethink some stuff about what Muslim cool looks like.
I'm ready. It really is fascinating how this topic is about way more than just music, right? It's
Yes,
about identity, representation, even like breaking out of cultural boxes.
absolutely. And speaking of breaking out, our source talks about this triple jeopardy thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a way to describe the challenges Black, female, and Muslim individuals face here in the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes you think about all those layers they're navigating, right?
Totally. Bias from society, sometimes even within their own communities.
Exactly. And the paper mentions Jamila A. Karim, the scholar.
Right.
She points out how Black Muslims can even experience exclusion from other Muslims. Like they're caught in this space where they're the other in so many ways.
It really makes you wonder how these artists deal with all that, like on a personal level and through their music.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you've got Miss Undastood, a real pioneer in Islamic hip hop.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of her. Vogue Arabia even called her the first lady of Islamic hip-hop.
That's a powerful title.
It is.
She came onto the scene in the early 2000s, and she's been, like, changing the game ever since.
She's more than just a rapper, though, isn't she?
Right.
Like, she's an advocate, too.
Uses her music to, like, open up conversations and give people a voice.
Exactly. Really shaping how we think about Muslim women in America today.
And to understand that, we need to look at the scholar Anaya McMurray. She talks about Black female Muslim rappers as improvisational agents.
Interesting term.
Right. She says they use music to communicate across cultures, push back against all those stereotypes.
Mm. That reminds me of McMurray's idea of the boundary objects.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how Islamic music can be so many things.
Oh, yeah.
From traditional stuff to, well, what Miss Undastood does with hip-hop.
Right.
So music becomes this boundary object,
Yeah.
taking Islam into all these different spaces, giving it new meaning.
It's like taking something familiar and making it, totally new, expressing a different perspective.
Exactly.
And to see that in action, let's look at one of Miss Undastood's tracks. Hijab is the one thing.
Okay.
It's not just a catchy song. It really takes on all those misconceptions about hijab head on.
Yeah, you can hear it in the lyrics. She's like, liberated, educated, making a statement, and yes, self-hate is blatant.
Wow.
Right, directly challenging that idea that hijab means you're oppressed. She's owning her choice.
And then she even says, just because I cover doesn't mean I'm all righteous. Just because you don't doesn't mean you're less pious.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
It's like she's pushing everyone to think critically, to have real conversations.
Yeah. To both Muslims and non-Muslims.
Exactly. Move beyond those simple ideas of hijab and choice.
It's powerful stuff. And speaking of pushing boundaries and starting conversations, we got to talk about Mona Haydar.
Oh, I love her.
Syrian-American rapper, made a huge impact with Rap My Hijab.
That song became an anthem, for Muslim women all over. It's about identity, taking back the narrative.
And so catchy.
And the music video takes it to another level.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. All these different women celebrating who they are.
And it shows how music can build community, right? Create a sense of belonging.
Absolutely.
Visually, it's like a direct response to that whole veil debate. These women, each with their own style, rocking their hijabs, full of confidence and joy.
Powerful statement about self-expression.
For sure. Challenging how the media portrays Muslim women.
It's amazing to see artists like Miss Undastood and Mona Haydar using hip-hop like this to express their identities, flip the script on all those stereotypes.
Makes you wonder, though, how did these two worlds, Islam and hip-hop, even come together?
Yeah, it does seem like an unlikely pairing.
Right. On the surface, at least.
Yeah.
Well, our source actually points out it makes a lot of sense when you really think about it.
Okay, interesting.
Suad Abdul Kabir. She talks about the tensions and the synergies between the two.
So what are some of the tensions then?
Well, you think about it. Hip-hop often gets associated with themes that that might clash with certain Islamic values, like
I can see that.
explicit lyrics about sex, drugs, violence.
Right.
And then you got to remember, hip-hop comes from Black culture, which has had its own struggles with marginalization, misrepresentation.
And then on the other side,
Yeah.
you have this stereotype of Muslims being like overly conservative. you know?
Right, right.
Not exactly cool.
Yeah, and you can see how all that could
Yeah,
create some distance between these two worlds.
absolutely.
But that's what makes artists like Miss Undastood and Mona
Yeah.
Haydar so important, you know?
Yeah.
They're challenging those stereotypes from both sides,
Yeah.
proving you can be Muslim and still cool,
Yeah.
that hip-hop can be a way to express your faith,
Yeah.
and that Islam itself is way more diverse and nuanced
Right.
than people realize.
Absolutely. They're breaking down walls, building something new.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just the U.S. either.
Oh, is this a global thing?
Yeah, while I was prepping for this,
Right.
I came across this British duo, Poetic Pilgrimage. Ever heard of them?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I think so.
They were one of the first
Okay.
all-female Muslim hip-hop groups to really, like, go international.
Wow.
They've been breaking down barriers since the early 2000s.
What I find really cool about them
Yeah.
is how they mix spoken word poetry with those classic hip hop beats.
Yeah, and their lyrics are about so much.
Right, like faith, social justice, even gender equality.
Yeah, they really show that there's no one way to be a Muslim woman.
It's so true.
They represent all that diversity within the Muslim community in their music. It's this awesome blend of, you know,
Yeah.
Islamic influences and modern hip-hop sounds.
So unique.
It's really unique.
Makes me think about how these artists are changing what Islamic music even means.
Yeah,
You know, taking those traditional influences and making something fresh and new.
right, right.
It reminds me of another artist, Mariah the Scientist,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
R&B singer, American, not like explicitly a Muslim artist,
Okay.
but you see those Islamic themes and images
Yeah,
in her music videos, performances. It's subtle,
I see, I see.
but it's there.
It's like a sign of how this movement is impacting the mainstream.
Absolutely.
You know, that growing awareness and appreciation for Islamic culture.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
shows a real shift in how Islam is being represented, brought into pop culture.
It's interesting, like those lines between what's Islamic and what's,
Yeah,
secular are blurring.
totally.
Makes for something really interesting.
It does.
Okay, let's shift gears for a sec.
Okay.
What's the impact of all this? I mean, for Muslim women, sure, but also for, like, hip-hop society as a whole.
That's a big question.
It is.
Well, for me, I think about the young Muslim women who might feel overlooked,
Yeah.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
These artists, they're giving them a voice,
Right.
showing them you can be proud of your faith, your culture,
Totally.
and still be creative, cool, successful on your own
It's
terms.
like a blueprint,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
for navigating identity in a world that wants to put you in a box.
Exactly. And they're creating space for dialogue, understanding,
Yeah.
helping people connect across cultures,
Yeah.
challenging Islamophobia just by being themselves, sharing their stories.
It's about humanizing the Muslim experience.
Absolutely. Changing hearts and minds through music.
Powerful stuff.
It really is.
And it's not just about, like, individual empowerment, right? It's having an impact on whole industries. Like our source mentions Islamic fashion.
Oh, that's
They're using their platform to promote modest fashion,
Yeah.
challenging those, Western beauty standards.
Showing you can be stylish and modest.
Yeah.
And that's creating demand for clothes that reflect those values.
And the fashion world is responding.
Totally. You see more designers
Yeah.
incorporating modest fashion. It's not a niche thing anymore.
It's a global shift.
Yeah,
Incredible how this has moved beyond music into other areas.
it is.
Speaks to the power of art to, like, shape our world.
For sure.
But we can't forget how this is changing hip-hop itself.
Right. You're right.
It's pushing those boundaries of what hip-hop is, who
Yeah.
it belongs to.
And forcing a conversation about diversity,
So important.
inclusion.
Hip-hop has always been about giving a voice to the marginalized.
Right.
And now Muslim voices are a part of that.
Exactly. That's what makes this movement so powerful.
Yeah, really are.
They're changing what it means to be Muslim,
Yeah.
what it means to be cool, what it means to be a hip-hop
And
artist,
challenging those stereotypes, promoting understanding.
pushing those creative boundaries,
Yeah.
influencing entire industries.
It's inspiring,
It really is.
how much impact they're having.
What I think is most amazing
Yeah.
is that they're doing all of this
Yeah.
while staying true to themselves and their faith,
Right.
no compromising. They're redefining success on their own terms.
That's a powerful message for everyone.
It really is.
It reminds us that we can all challenge the status quo,
Yeah,
create a more inclusive world.
I love that.
And on that note,
Okay.
I think it's time to step back, think about everything we've learned.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll wrap things up.
Okay.
Some final thoughts on music's power to connect people,
Okay, sounds good.
inspire change. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, wrapping up our deep dive on Muslim women in hip-hop.
It's been quite a journey, huh?
It really has, through music, identity, and, like challenging norms.
Yeah, so much packed in.
What's sticking with you the most as we finish up?
I keep thinking about community,
Oh,
how these artists aren't just making music. They're making spaces for, like, Muslim women, especially those who maybe feel like they don't fit in.
yeah, to see themselves be celebrated.
Exactly.
It's like a global network they're building, right?
Yeah, totally.
Connecting with people all over through their music.
Sharing stories, experiences,
Creating this sense of belonging.
and it goes beyond just Muslim women, too.
Right. Like bridging cultures.
Absolutely. They're humanizing what it means to be Muslim, challenging Islamophobia
Just by sharing their perspective.
through art,
It's powerful.
showing that Islam is so diverse,
Yeah.
has this rich cultural heritage.
Yeah.
Not just one thing, which, that's where a lot of prejudice comes from.
That's such a good point. And the
Right.
way they do it, it's not like they're, preaching.
Right, right.
It's just expression.
Through their music. It's
Yeah.
authentic.
And that's what makes it so impactful.
People connect with that.
Yeah. Reminds us of the power music has,
To go beyond borders, create change.
As we wrap up, I'm left with this question. If music can do all this, what other unexpected pairings have that potential to create understanding? What other boundaries can we break down through art? It's something to think about.
It is for all of us. I encourage everyone to go listen to these artists.
Yeah, dive into what we've talked about.
Find some new favorites, maybe.
The more we open ourselves up to different cultures, different ways of thinking, the better we understand the world.
So true.
Maybe we'll even be inspired to create something ourselves, our own blends of music and culture.
I love that.
Start new conversations, make new connections. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those musical adventures going.